So I think this is very important for me and for my peers to see, because I talk to, all my friends and everything on Instagram and at work, and we're all in the same boat, still trying to figure out how to, maneuver and make it in this industry,
One of the things that I encourage people to do who want to be in the fashion industry, no matter what age they are, is to go work at a small store, retail store. I know it might sound like I'm not going to work no damn store, but that's the best education. I'm not saying a store like Big Macy's, but a small store, because you get a chance to learn everything about the business. Right. I still enjoy selling. I still love to go into a store and work in a store and sell. I do. It's something about it. This is personal. It's exciting. But spend time learning the business. Mm-hmm. But also, you can, if you don't want to work in a store, get to know a person, the manager of a store. Cultivate with that person and invite that person for drinks and say, tell me about the retail climate. They can tell you so much. And that's what I mean by that community, right? So if you get a community, if you know someone at Bird Oak Goodman, spend time with that person. Talk to them about traffic flow. Why is the store set up that way? What does the buyers think of this? When is market? How important is spring to summer to fall to holiday? All those things you can learn. Mm-hmm. And that's what I mean by putting that community together, people that are right at your finger.
What food for thought words do you have? I actually have 3 minutes
I would say keep going. I met an editor who was the youngest editor to ever win an Oscar. And when I met him, I was like at a barbecue, and I said, wow, you got an Oscar. This was like, I was only a year into my career. And I said, how does it feel? And he said, oh, don't worry, just keep going. You'll get one too.
Perfect closing moment. Thank you, Ms. Carter. Have an incredible day. And thank you, everybody.
Good evening. Happy Monday, everyone. And truly, it has been a hot Monday in media today. Well, we are going to wrap up tonight with our students. That's right, our students. I have the pleasure of introducing to you members of the Student Voice Board, and I am so excited about it. We have had a lot of conversations behind closed doors and narrowed down some of the topics that we're going to be talking about tonight. I mean, we have talked about a lot of things, but these individuals, these young thought leaders, narrowed down the list. They voted on what they wanted to bring forth for tonight, and I know you are going to be enlightened. So what I'm going to do is introduce these individuals to you and bring them to the stage. We're going to start off talking about some of the most recent occurrences in the industry, some of the fashion business deals and happenings. We're going to talk about corporate careers, fashion literacy, support for students of color, and then we're going to wrap up and talk about what they would like to see coming in the future. So help me bring these individuals to the stage. First of all, we have Patrielle Bailey. Patrielle is majoring in fashion design, attending SCAD. I always say SCAD for short, in Atlanta, and she is graduating June 2nd. So Patrielle, welcome, Patrielle.
Hi, everyone.
Thank you. All right, and oh Lord, I got messages already. I'm excited. Oh, and so next I am going to bring to the stage Faith S. Bradford. Faith is majoring in legal studies and finance at New York University. She is the class of 2025. In 2023, she became a Davis Projects for Peace Scholar, and she recently became a fellow with the D.E. Shaw Group, and she is interested in fashion law. Faith, welcome to the stage.
Hi, thank you for having me tonight.
You are welcome. And so now I am going to bring up Elizabeth Keys. Elizabeth is a senior undergraduate student pursuing a Bachelor of Fine Arts in Fashion Design with a minor in graphic design at SCAD. She's also in Atlanta. She is a 2-year finalist of the National Black Arts Festival Fashion Forward, a scholarship recipient of the T.J. Walker Scholarship and the Black Talent in Design and Fashion Scholarship. And in 2021, Elizabeth was announced by the CFDA of America, the Cultural Fashion Designers of America, CFDA for short, as a finalist of the Gucci Change Makers class. So welcome, Elizabeth.
Hi, thank you for having me.
Oh, you're welcome. And y'all have to highlight the fact that one of the design that is behind her is one of her designs. Now I have to bring the minority in the group. The only gentleman that we have, we've given him a hard time. He's giving us a run for our money, though. We have Kevin Turner, majoring in fashion design, attending Otis College of Art and Design in Los Angeles, California. Welcome, Kevin.
It's a pleasure.
I am excited. Are you all excited tonight? Yeah, I bet you are. Lord, I tell you what, I wish audience members, I wish you could have been a fly on the wall with some of the conversations we have been having, because we've been having a good time. They are keeping me young. They have been enlightening me. They've been teaching me. I am staying in contact with them always. So let's jump right in with one of the most recent hot topics. One of the things that happened recently. Pharrell Williams was selected to succeed Virgil Abloh as creative director. Was he the best choice? And if you don't think so, who would you have selected and why? Who would like to go first and share their input? Patrielle or Kevin? Patrielle, go ahead. It's on. Yep, there you go.
Well, for me, I think it was initially, I wasn't sure, but I think it is a good choice. I know they had different designers on the playing field, like Martine Rose. She was a designer for Balenciaga. She was an assistant designer for them at one point. And I know she was on the table for that. But I think Pharrell, even though he's not a designer, he has such an interesting sense of style. And I think that he'll be able to bring forward like some nice creative direction for the company for sure.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Kevin, you have thoughts on that?
I believe there's two sides of the coin. Of course, there are more qualified applicants that maybe, their careers are geared more towards his position, but with his status and fame and the collaborations that he's done before with said Bape and Louis Vuitton as well, I feel like he's definitely going to be a good contributor to the brand. But I do believe there may be a little bit more qualified applicants.
Okay. Does anybody else want to throw something in there?
I would add to the conversation. I feel like he was a good choice because he's been a part of the brand since 2004. And I think that it's really good that they chose someone of his character because he has connections in the entertainment field and fashion. but also just to keep diversity with allowing him to be the creative director. I think that was a good choice to just keep the torch handed down to an African American designer or creative in general, and allowing us to see some amazing work.
Okay. Okay. Any final thoughts on that? Are y'all ready for me to go to the next topic? All right. So Kanye and Adidas split due to Kanye's erratic behavior. When you listen to Russell Simmons' comment, what are your thoughts on his comment? Did anybody, if not, I can pull up, everybody got a chance to listen to that? You know what? Let me see if I can pull it up really quick. All right, let's skip the ad and get right to it.
Was selling for $39.99. It was an explosive moment. It led to saving Fat Farm from its own extinction. And then we sold the company, and thank you, $500 million gross in sneakers that we did with the Fat Classics. It's amazing. And the thing that we broke the mold because we proved that you didn't have to suck up under Adidas or Nike or anybody to sell sneakers, because no one had sold anything but legitimate. Nothing was cool except Nike, perhaps Puma, but not really, and Adidas. That was it. And we would never allow ourselves to own ourselves and do our own shit at all. But we did it. And it was, I remember Damon Dash laughed at me. What kind of corny shit is that, your own sneaker? But we had some vision and some luck, and we got through it. The Daba family manufactured and sold those sneakers for us, but we owned them.
Speed it up.
So Kanye is getting free from these people and getting free from Valencia. I don't know what the fuck. That expensive company that he's the brand. That expensive company. And Kanye is a plus to them. They had to get rid of him, but he was a plus to them because his brand was so strong. So his sneakers.
So with all of that said, listening to, and forgive the language, I forgot that he had that type of language. Sorry about that. What are your thoughts on his statements and Kanye getting free? Go ahead, Kevin.
I believe the reason why Kanye went to Adidas and Nike was for the production. It wasn't necessary to be under the shackles of anybody. He needed the facility, the materials, the space in order to do that. And I mean, Yeezys were everywhere. Everybody had a pair of Yeezys, the slippers, they had the boots, they had the clothing, and that all has to be produced. So he went through, basically a manufacturer in Adidas or Nike in order to be able to produce that amount of, quantity to be sold. Because the sole purpose of, Yeezy was to allow people to buy clothes at an affordable price without it selling out, which was really big for him. He wanted it to be like Gap, but at Balenciaga quality or Gucci quality. So that's how I see it. I see the business side of it. I don't see it being like a necessarily partnership or in the shackles under Adidas. I see it as more of a business move.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Anybody else have any thoughts on that?
Okay. I absolutely agree with Kevin. I believe Kanye working with Adidas was just a means of production so he could get really jump started in the field. And I believe this split in partnership won't be too harmful for him down the road now that he's already gotten his name out there. His products are very popular today. So I think he'll still have a lot of success going forward.
Okay. All right. And what do you all think? Go ahead, Elizabeth. I'm sorry.
No, you're fine. I was just going to say, I think Kanye is very strategic with his decision to partner with Adidas. And I think what was so significant about Russell's advice is that he did tell him to apologize and make amends with other individuals that are in the business, because we all fail to realize that we need each other to survive. Even in the industry of fashion, relationships are so important. And you would think with Kanye's wealth and just the legacy that he has in music, he could have introduced his own shoe lines. But just like Kevin said, his strategy was to partner with an established brand to provide quality work. You don't have to hire marketing because they already provide that for you in your deal. So it was more so of like him building the relationships that he needed. And sometimes as a leader, we do fail to realize that our character matters. And so I think that he's learned through this process to make amends with individuals and make sure that he's ready for his next move, because I think he's very smart, especially when it comes to his creative projects.
Okay. All right. And when it comes to other changes, looking at Beyonce and Ivy Park and then the switch over to Balmain, do you think that's going to hurt that company any? Does anybody think it will hurt them? Or how do you think, Petriel? I see you. Go ahead.
I don't think it's gonna. I don't think it's gonna necessarily affect like with the Ivy Park split. I don't think it's gonna affect that. I think for her going into the Balmain deal, I think that's something that is up her league. It'll allow her to attract a different type of target customer, which I think would be beneficial to both her and Balmain.
Okay. All right. Anybody else have thoughts on that?
Elizabeth? I agree with Patriel. I think luxury is her target market. And we learn in school like how important brand identity is, knowing your target market. And in the luxury world, you have that loyal clientele, and they're not really affected by the pandemic or the recession. Like, they're going to constantly buy expensive goods. And I think that's why her contract really ended with Adidas, because her sale projection wasn't meeting the goal this year. And so it was smart of her to go somewhere where she would be accepted. And she also made history with partnering with Olivia. So that I think it was a smart move and a lesson learned for us as students to know that if you're not thriving, don't struggle. Just move to the next one, the next opportunity.
All right,
Yeah.
Kevin?
I'm gonna add. I think it's beautiful to watch how. I mean, it is Beyonce. You know, the name speaks for itself. But I think it's beautiful to watch Black people be able to go from Adidas, you know, which is like number 2 to Nike, which is, you know, pretty impressive. Then to go to, you know, to where she's at now. We're seeing Pharrell with Louis Vuitton. We're seeing, you know, Kanye was with Louis Vuitton at a time. He interned at Fendi. We had Virgil Abloh. So we're slowly getting the credit that we deserve and the opportunities that, you know, we're working so hard, and those doors are opening for more and more people like us. I think it's a beautiful to watch and soak in.
Okay, and talking about that, talking about those doors opening, let's talk about preparing for corporate careers and the doors opening. What suggestions do you offer? One, to ensure that each of you have success in those doors opening, but two, to really minimize some of the communication challenges across the board, whether it's in how you dress, how you speak, how you prepare for interviews and etiquette, you know, closing that gap between the cultures. What are some things that were shared with you or you would have liked to have had shared with you for those moves?
Kevin? Yeah, I'll go ahead and start. I have a lot of advice pertaining towards this. I feel like there's a lot of work that needs to be done in order for us to be comfortable in the corporate field as Black people. We're already necessarily looked down upon in that corporate field when it comes to like suit and tie work. Some pieces of advice that I would give in terms of trying to, you know, fit into your space would be to listen when you first arrive. Try to just figure out everybody, figure out the language. There's, you know, different languages to everything. You need to know how to communicate with each other so that you're getting your point across, but you can still be yourself. You know, learning their language at the same time. Don't be afraid to code switch. It may sound like a negative thing, but uh, it's not. It's really necessary. You're gonna code switch throughout your entire day. Actually, when you're talking to your your girlfriend versus like your colleague versus your mom, your dad, it's different language. You code switch, but you just don't know it. It's the same you, it's just a different version of yourself.
Hmm.
Um, so those are a few pointers that I would try to work on.
Yeah, we talked about that code switch. We had a good conversation on that code switching. Does
Yeah,
anybody else? Go ahead. I'm sorry.
just to add,
Yeah.
yeah, the conversation was, yeah, being the or being the different version of yourself, but you're the same person to every, in each conversation. So you go into one room, you're a different version of yourself pertaining to that room, so that you're fit in, you can get things done successfully, but you're still the same you. And then you go to the next room, and it's a different version of yourself. It could be 15 minutes later, different version of yourself, but just be the same you.
I like it. I like it. Anyone else have anything that Patriarch? Go ahead.
I think just leading off with compassion and empathy is a very great way. I think if you're in a room and you're very uncomfortable, I think your mannerism, I think just your willingness to listen to people, to receive information will take you along like long places. I also think like common respect is very important because a lot of people they take note of little things, and just kind of like getting like being able to correctly like articulate yourself so that people can like know what you're about and where your head is at. I think that's never failed me in a sense of just people know that I'm respectful. They know that I'm going to be listening, like an open ear, and just ready to not only speak, but to like basically like absorb knowledge.
Yeah, I know we talked, and I remember. Never mind. No, I can share this story. I remember when I was growing up, and you talking about communication, and people used to say, "Why are you talking white?" But I don't regret talking like that to this day. So, does anybody else have anything to say?
I would add to it. I think preparation is key. I remember I had a business lunch with a mentor, and my dad told me check the menu of that restaurant before you go so that you can know what to order and that your time won't be consumed with ordering your meal, but your time will be consumed with asking the right questions. So I use that as an analogy when you go into corporate, because I've had corporate experiences. It's best for you to kind of get to know the brand, like read their menu, who's the executive, who's on the board, who's your art director or your mentor, like get to know that environment so that you can fit in. And I feel like when you find your niche and like Kevin said, you know who you are, just stick to it. Like the environment will challenge you and try to make you become someone else. Like even if I talk in a higher pitched voice, I still know who I am and I know who I represent. And I think it's very important that you just develop relationships with people that look different than you so that you can learn new things, new environments, and new opportunities will come because you're expanding your horizon.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah,
Um,
and just to piggyback off that, in terms of preparation, I feel like even though it is corporate and you may not be doing something that's physical, um, I feel like if you're able to get to a place where you're able to kind of do homework, or take homework so that you're overly prepared. I personally try to overwork, and I tend to overwork so that I'm confident in my work, so that when it's time, I don't even have to double think about it. I know I already triple thought about it the day before or whenever I was preparing for, what's to come. Um, so that, yeah, the preparation is very important. Do your research, your homework in that time as well.
absolutely, absolutely. Faith.
Yeah, and then like add on to what everybody else was saying, I think a good way to like get insight into anything you want to go into is like to reach out to people. Like networking is that big scary word. Sometimes we don't want to do it, but it's one of the most helpful things you can do in your career. People love to talk about themselves and they definitely love to help curious people. So going to reach out to as many people as you can, maybe go meet up for coffee, lunch, anything to like kind of get your foot in the door.
These are all very good advice. Talking about moving into the corporate arena. It's okay. That's why we're having these conversations. Um, do you think either of you would benefit from having a course taught on salary negotiation to prepare you for moving into corporate? Okay. Okay. Would any of you feel confident right now if you had to negotiate a salary for your role? Yeah, yeah. So I want to make sure everybody that the voice board knows, but I want to make sure everybody that is listening knows I am hosting. Last year we had Nicole Harsford Holly, who's an adjunct professor at Kent State. She hosted an incredible webinar on salary. I am going to replay that segment on Monday, May 8th. I believe it's at 7 p.m. I have to double check the time, but just stand by. If you're on the registration list for my organization, you will get that notification because she gave an incredible demonstration. I know that there is a delay with the timing. If anybody has any comments or questions you want to share, you can go ahead and put those into the chat. And when we get to that point, if it's an appropriate, if we have appropriate timing and questioning, I will present them to the panel. So talking about money, financial literacy, what are some of the things, looking back at your younger self, getting ready to enter college, what are some of the things that you would tell yourself or that you wish someone had shared with you prior to starting to apply for scholarships or to even, just about money in general that you would love to see taught in school? Anybody want to take a stab at that first and share their feedback? Kevin?
Yep, I'll go. What I wish I would have known before coming to college financially was the amount of preparation that you would have to do if you don't have, a family that's well off or scholarships or grants right when you start. Um, when I was looking for scholarships and grants, a lot of them were pertaining to students that had a specific GPA and were juniors. So this is my first year, so I don't have financial support from grants or scholarships. It's all just out of my pocket and from student loans. Um, but I was able to study financial literacy before I entered college. So I do know a little bit about saving and how to budget, and I was able to raise my credit to pretty excellent, where I'm able to get a student loan without any troubles. Um, but yeah, the students that were not able to learn that, I'm pretty sure it's a little bit more difficult for them. So seeing some type of, I don't know, like a class or something that would help us understand financial literacy, I feel like needs to be in place, whether that be in high school, if it just be for African American students, or fresh incoming freshmen that are going into college. It's mandatory that something like that needs to be implemented into our educational system.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Anybody else want to share? Patria?
And I think piggybacking off what Kevin was saying, not just learning about like how it is when it comes to like finding loans while you're in college, but I think also having something that caters to like after college. Because now, as homeowners, I know my mom, she was trying to get another property, and like my student loan, like it was affecting her in order to do that. And it's funny because a couple years ago, it didn't affect you. So I think just knowing like as we're entering different worlds and probably trying to buy property and things, how your student loans affect you and how to like effectively repay your loans and things of that nature as well.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
I'd
Elizabeth?
like to add to that too. I would say if I could go back to my younger self, I would say read the fine print. And what I mean about that is like you apply for this sub and unsub loan and you understand that it's applied to your tuition. But to any senior that is in high school, to any parent that is listening, read the fine print, ask the right questions to your financial aid department. If they're advertising scholarships, ask them where are they on the website? When are the deadlines? How much? And is that for 1 year or is that for a semester or quarter? Ask these questions so that you won't put yourself in a bad position towards whatever year you may be in and you experience a financial hardship. Another thing that I would say is good to know is the difference between an independent and a dependent student. So now that I'm of this age of 24, I'm a dependent student. So all of my like financial contribution for education is on myself. And with private loans, if you do not have a cosigner or a dependable parent, you have to outsource for someone to support your education. So just having these honest conversations is necessary to help the next person not struggle getting their education. We always heard in high school, go to college, you know, get a certification or get a degree, but no one is really advocating the importance of how to get that funding. So there are YouTube channels and some educators that do like scholarship resources, but I highly recommend that parents start looking into scholarships. I even have an Excel spreadsheet of scholarships that I applied to maybe 2 years ago, and I'll reach out and say, hey, I'm a senior. Do you have any funding? So keep those relationships because free money is better than debt.
Mm-hmm. Yes, Lord. Yes, Lord. I
Yeah,
know.
absolutely.
Go ahead, Faye.
Thank you. There's so many resources out there to get funding for school. Unfortunately, college is really expensive, but there are a lot of scholarships out there that a lot of students just don't know about. So I think some people think maybe you have to have a perfect, like all A's, or you have to be the president of all the clubs. But there's so many scholarships out there for like niche little things that you can get. And agreeing with Elizabeth said, read the fine print. It's very easy to take out a loan, but that will travel if it's not handled properly. That could travel with you and have a lot of harmful implications on your personal finance and your credit going down the road later in college or even after college for years to come.
Amen. I can testify to that. I tell you what, when I went to college, I had no clue. I didn't have the support. We would get student loans and we would get them to a level that we would use those funds to pay for everything else. And so then when I got out of college, you know, I was left with that debt to pay. So, hey, that's why I have a nonprofit. Anybody listening, please feel free to make donations so we can continue to grow our scholarship funds so we can help our students like this. So let's talk a little bit more. This goes along with that, talking about support for students of color. What when it comes to support for students of color, what would you like to see more of and why? Who would like to go first? Elizabeth?
I'm reaching. I was. This is such an important question, and I'm honored that you are even taking the time to ask us this question, especially with us going through this process of becoming what we have always dreamed to become. And the important thing for me in this season of my life is mentorship to develop a foundation of ownership, whether that's land or starting my own business, and having resources and understanding the protocol of operating your own business. Another thing that would be really beneficial to experience as a student is the additional financial support, so that we can continue our education in school. And lastly, I would say it's just more opportunities for us to flourish and not just be behind the scenes, but also just be on the front lines of magazine covers, articles, news, internship opportunities, just having those resources to get out into the field. I think that would make students of color feel more appreciated.
Anyone else have something, Kevin?
Yeah, I would say, of course, financial support would be number one. I feel like a lot of students are a little scared away of college because of the financial impact that it does take to go. But I feel mentorship and collaboration is one, especially in fashion. As fashion designers, we all can relate. We're the kings of our own castle. We have our own specific ideas and the way we craft our patterns and the fabrics that we use. So collaborating with each other, I feel like is more important, and I would love to see that. I mean, we've come so far. We're all opening doors for each other. A great example again is the fashion world that we live in now. We have Kanye West opened the door for Virgil Abloh, that opened the door for Pharrell, that opened the door for the likes of Tremaine Emory with Supreme, and now we have Beyonce with Adidas and so forth and so on. So that's why I feel like collaboration is very important, and we need more of it so that we can continue this process of taking over the industry per se.
Yeah, yeah. So I want to say one of the things we're doing, because someone mentioned networking, and so thanks to the Voice Board for students, whether you are currently in college or recent grad, we have created a channel. We created a Slack channel for students so you can network together, so you can share if you know about a scholarship application that's going on. You can put it on that Slack channel and say, hey, did you all hear about this? The deadline is such and such a day. Hey, do you know about this opportunity for a career, this internship, this mentor? Just creating a community amongst yourselves. So that Slack channel is open for those who are interested in being a part or having access to that Slack channel. You should reach out to either one of the Voice Board members if you have a relationship with them, or you should reach out to myself. I'm going to put my email in the chat, or you can contact me through, because this might not go through the LinkedIn. I don't think it does. You can also reach out to me through the website, which is blackfashionworld.org. So as we're coming to a close, this has been a great conversation. Before I go into the closing statement, I do want to ask members of the Voice Board, is there anything else that you want to add that you think attention should be brought to at this moment? That you wish maybe schools would consider incorporating into the educational program? Anything, any experience that you might have had, whether it's outside working in a corporate job, you don't have to share anything. I just want to give this moment. If there is one thing or two or three that you want to share at this moment, we have a few moments. Feel free to take your time. If you want to say something, feel free to do so now. Patrielle, I see you going first.
For me, I wish I had more professors and like people of leadership to be more transparent. I think transparency is such an important thing. And I think when you don't know something, it can hurt you in a lot of different ways. So if those people who were in the industry, who have seen different things and experienced how it really is, if they could actually be transparent as to how hard it is to get in there, but then once you're there, like you have your foot in the door, how to actually navigate yourself as a creative and just kind of climb up this ladder. I think that would be very important if I had more of that at my local school.
Okay. Anyone else? Elizabeth, I think I see you.
Yes, I would say I grew up in Mississippi and I went to a rural high school, and it was all about sports and academics and a little bit about the arts. Like I had to create a fine arts club, I had to join yearbook, I had to do things to create like a creative environment. And with me just going after my dream and going to a creative university, my advice to my younger self, or even to just individuals that have a desire to be in the creative world, like it is a profitable industry. I was discouraged sometimes because they would say, oh, you're going to be a starving artist. But I'm like, no, everything you see has to do with marketing, advertisement, fashion design. If we didn't have designers, we would not be clothed in this call. So we need creatives in the world. So definitely go after your dreams. Find a mentor, find resources online. We live in such a global world where you can connect with anyone online, and just really just find your niche and make a difference in the world, a positive difference in the world.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, kind of like Elizabeth, I grew up in Mississippi too, as well. And coming to New York, people made the same joke about being a starving artist up here. So similar to Elizabeth's advice, mine would be like, just don't be scared, don't be afraid, just try it. And if you don't like it, then that's just redirection rather than a failure. There's no better way to find what you like and to advance forward than getting that actual hands-on experience. So in whatever field you are, whether it's fashion or something else, just reach out to people, try new things, and then you'll be on your way.
Okay.
And yeah, lastly, I mean, I can give advice for hours. The ladies
Yes,
know, but
we got time. Take your time.
I'm gonna keep it short. Well, I'm gonna try to keep it short. But yeah, I just feel like if you have a passion for something, that should be your focus. It shouldn't be money. It shouldn't be the fame, and shouldn't be whatever the case may be. If you have a passion for something, that should be your passion, and that is what should drive you each and every morning. I'm pursuing what I love to do ever since I graduated high school, and every morning I wake up happy, not because I'm getting a lot of money, not because my Instagram follower numbers are going up, not because any of that. It's because I get to wake up every day and pursue something that I love to do and that I chose for myself. So that would be the biggest piece of advice that I can give to anyone younger or older that's watching.
Amazing. Patria?
And I think too, just like to what Kevin is saying, I think motivation is important, but what I've learned throughout my 4 years of college is discipline is actually more important than motivation, because every day you're not going to wake up. You can love what you do, but every day you're not going to wake up and be just in this great mood or feel like, you're seeing your way. But it's just like day by day, step by step, and just knowing that like if you wake up every day and just get things done, like something is going to stick at some point. So just being more disciplined more than anything, even if you're lacking motivation temporarily.
Okay. All right. I want to share some thoughts that came in. I'm going to put them on the screen so you all can see them. Rhonda Collins says, want to comment, so proud of you all. And then this one, Kevin Turner, proud of you all. Keep shooting for the stars. Definitely. If anybody else has any more comments or thoughts, go ahead and drop them in the chat. I know it's a slight bit of a delay. But as we're wrapping up now, I want you all to know I am very proud of you. I am honored that you all wanted to do this. And you all have been, I promise I'm not going to cry. But the experience of, don't cry. The experience of being with each of you and hearing your hearts and trusting me with your hearts. I've heard everything you said. I can't say I can do everything overnight, but know that I've heard everything you said, and that's why I'm here. So, with that, we've had some good time too. With that said, I'm going to close with this question. Being alive at this time, experiencing COVID and seeing the advancements in diversity and inclusion, and the efforts that have been made, what are your feelings about the progress that has been made to support Black professionals, progress that you've been able to witness in this 3-year period? And what would you like to see happen going forward? Who would like to start? I'll give you a moment to let that sink. It's Linda. Hey, Linda. I'll repeat it, and then being alive at this time, experiencing COVID over this past 3-year period, seeing George Floyd, seeing all of the advancements that have been made in regards to diversity and inclusion, being able to witness that. For me, I can only say for me, I'm one of these people that just loves history. So it's been almost like another civil rights movement, but I've been able to witness it. What are not mine, but what are your feelings about the progress that has been made to support Black professionals, the advancements over this period? Because you were alive before George Floyd, so you know what was taking place before, and you've seen the changes. So what are your thoughts? What are your feelings about what you've seen, what you've been a part of in these past 3 years? And what would you like to see happen more of maybe going forward? Kevin?
Yeah, I'll go ahead and start. Yeah, like I said earlier, it's a beautiful thing to watch. We came a long, long, long way. Um, Within the fashion industry, we have black people that are in those highest positions. We have two black males back to back that are running the number one luxury fashion brand in Louis Vuitton, which is a French brand as well. But I believe there is still work to do. I know there's still work to do. Being an African American fashion designer as a male, there's a lot of um, clubs per se, and there are still brands that are using our culture and not including us in the creation of it. And I feel like as black people, we need to put our foot down a little bit more and insert ourselves into those brands, or find a way to get into those, or even hone our own, so that we're able to compete. Um, I feel like there's only just one brand that was able to do that within Off White. I may be wrong. There may be a couple other that aren't coming to my head right now, but there's just a select few that are able to compete with the luxury French brands, especially as Americans. There's what Ralph Lauren. So,
Mm.
in terms of African Americans, we still have a lot of work to do before we're able to compete with the luxury side of fashion, or the luxury French side of fashion.
Mm.
I believe we spoke about the the show. I can't remember what it's called, but it was a show that it was basically the French versus the Americans.
Bella
Um,
Versailles, yes.
I did my research on that, and the Americans pretty much they took the cake of the show. To sum it up short, it was a bunch of French fashion houses presented fashion shows, and a bunch of American fashion houses presented their shows, and the American fashion shows were a little bit better than the French, and that took place in, I don't
50
know
years
how,
ago this November, yes.
50 years ago, and we're still considering French houses better than American houses.
Mm,
So I feel like, yeah, we still have a lot of work to do, and I feel like the start is with us right here and right now.
okay. Anyone at Patriel?
I think we definitely came a long way. I think 5 years ago, you did not see so many people of color in these like higher leadership roles when it comes to not just our industry, but other industries kind of climbing up the ladder within sports administration, business, and just the creative side of things, like with fashion design as well. You see a lot of Black individuals or people of color who are actually being able to have these different titles. So I think we've definitely came a long way. And then with, within the pandemic, so many people, they may have not had talents before, but they were able to reinvent themselves and really come out of the pandemic on the other side and build companies and businesses that are very successful and still thriving today. So I think for us, a younger generation, we haven't seen certain things and certain movements taking place in our lifetime, but to see that we kind of were able to have a little glimpse of it. And I know, like, I participated in some rallies and some things for myself. So it was very like it's a bittersweet type of feeling because it's very heavy, the emotions that's going on, but just to be able to be a part of something and kind of act on some type of change. I think we've came a long way. There's obviously, like Kevin's saying, like we have a lot more to do, but I think we can be grateful for where we have came today because we've definitely made a lot of advancement.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. We've come so far as a community, especially in this nation. And I think that's something to be, rather than look at it like a half glass full. We've came so far, and what previous generations did, or they're setting us up for what we're doing today. So I think our generation is on the right path, whether it's in like becoming like C-suite executives, even like on the runway. You're seeing a lot more people that look like us, a lot more people getting their designs out there that look like us. Unfortunately, I wish we were like accredited more, a little bit more in the creative field. I think our designs have always been pretty popular, not necessarily credited under our names, but um, getting
Right.
our kind of like getting our clout out there, getting our names out there, getting our designs out there. so designers and even like models can get the recognition they deserve. But I think as long as our generation does what we're doing now, we're doing our service to the previous generations, and then we're also helping out those in the future to come.
Right.
I
Elizabeth?
will add to the talk too. I would say first, faith. That's why you're going to be a lawyer, because we need the education to accredit ourselves, to mark our history in fashion. I would say we have overcome a lot of obstacles. I have seen progress. I like to say that we're experiencing the prayers that our grandparents prayed.
Mm.
The equality that we see now, women having the ability to be on the forefront, I think it's great, but there's much work that we need to continue to do. Like one of my favorite designers in 2021, Pierre Moss did a collection where he was highlighting Black inventors. And just seeing the runway looks, I was like, oh my gosh, the curl rollers is by someone Black, and oh my gosh, the mop is by someone Black. And I thought to myself how my education system robbed me from that
Mm.
information. But now, as an adult, I need to brighten up my horizon and understand my history, and that we are innovators. We're more than servants. We're educated individuals, and we are history. And so, my hope for the next generation is that we do not make any excuses, and that we'll continue to persevere. If we're not allowed in the room, make our own rooms, and still be nice to invite other people into the space, because there's room for everyone. But I do see a great change happening in our generation, more diversity in different companies, more of our faces, even the Latino faces in commercials and advertising and branding. And I'm just really proud, even though we had to go through some hardships, I'm really grateful that we're still being sought after and given the opportunity to be a part of history.
Mm. Amazing. Well, we are wrapping up tonight. This has been amazing. Um, Linda, I'll send you the replay. She was saying she's in a bad service area, but she was loving the conversation. So you all are amazing. I'm so proud of you. You did good, did good. Give yourself a pat on the back. So, ladies and gentlemen, you have just heard a snippet of what these thought leaders have to say. Unfortunately, you can't be in the back room with them like I can, but just know they have some. They. This is our future. I want to thank everybody for tuning in tonight. This conversation is in my YouTube channel. So anybody who registered, I know there are people who registered who couldn't attend, so I'll be sending out the link for the replay later this evening, but feel free to share it. Highlight these individuals, promote them. They are part of the solution, so help them along their journey. And with that said, you all stay put, but I want to tell everybody to have an incredible evening, and until the next time, have a good night.